And welcome. This is Mary Ellen McGonagle with your weekly MEM Edge show, brought to you each and every Friday afternoon with an eye toward helping you be prepared not only for next week, but beyond. Also sharing with you where the action was this week, and I will say very action-packed. So lots of exciting areas that we're going to be covering today. First and foremost is taking a look at the current markets. Where are they? Where is the backdrop? Are we in a constructive period within the broader markets? Also, earnings season, and we've been covering this for a couple of weeks now, and certainly this week really explosive. And with that, a lot in the way of pointing out signals and pathways as far as longer term themes. So I'm going to be sharing that with you. Also, we're going to be taking a look at some of these ETFs that are showing relative outperformance. And as such, rather than play the ETF, if you will, I'm going to share with you some of the underlying stocks among and within 3 of these ETFs that can really help you outperform the already hot ETFs. And then uncovering stocks in areas on the move. Of course, we always have an eye toward that, but I am going to be sharing with you some very quick screens within and on StockCharts.com that can really point you toward candidates. And this is going to be not only for shorter term swing traders, but also the one screen I'm going to be sharing with you that is already on StockCharts is going to help point you toward longer term themes as well. So let's go ahead and get started. As usual, I do like to share some of the more important news items that were presented this week in order to provide a framework and a backdrop for what did occur this past week and then also going forward. We did see weekly unemployment claims increase. That was certainly a negative. Let's see if we can take a look at some of these other underlying. Earlier in the week, Federal Reserve did come out with their meeting notes midweek and very, very accommodative, which is quite constructive and positive as far as a backdrop. Fed Chair Powell did continue to confirm the Fed's support that they will do what it will take to aid the economy. And I will tell you, monetary policy, we do have a lot in the way of earnings and so forth, but monetary policy as a backdrop is going to be your primary driver for the market. So this is quite bullish news. Also, June durable goods, they did come out better than expected. So we're getting some decent economic numbers that are also quite bullish. Pending home sales, continuing that theme as far as new and existing home sales really picking up. I did write about that in StockCharts.com. Chart Watchers last Friday, worth a read. And then July consumer confidence, it did come in weaker than expected, not entirely unanticipated, given this continued increase in coronavirus cases. So let's go ahead and get started, beginning by taking a look here at the S&P 500. This is a daily view. The S&P really ended on a very bullish note. It's up about 1.7% for the week. And really what we are looking at here is the index breaking back up above that upward trending 10-day simple moving average. It's been waffling around there for a bit, but after yesterday and today's pullback to this pink 21-day simple moving average, very good to see it close the week above that shorter term 10-day, confirming the near-term uptrend very much in place. We have an RSI up here above net neutral 50 trending upward. And take a look, stochastics, they had been heading downward going into this week, but bullishly recovered that uptrend and in good standing. So as always, what I'd like to do from here is go ahead and take a look, drill down further, looking for new candidates, and of course, make sure that you have representation in some of these stronger areas. So looking at these S&P 500 sectors. I've gone ahead and added this RSI, sorted it in descending order. I'm going to go ahead and update that. We had a very interesting close today. And take a look. Interestingly, consumer staples continue to be up here in the forefront. If we have time, I'll share with you some of the winners there. It's all about earnings. So we're seeing strength. I would argue it is not defensive in nature, very much growth driven. From there, we can see consumer discretionary. Of course, a lot of that is going to be Amazon. Came out with great numbers, gapped up today. However, there is one area within consumer discretionary, and this is where that ETF that I spoke to you about is going to point you toward the relative outperformance within consumer discretionary. And then technology up here. Tech really came through this week, up 5% for the week. Let's go ahead and take a quick view here. Well worth it, because we can see it had been languishing back here with a pullback in some of the leadership areas. And we can see this nice gap up, certainly today, up 2.5%. NASDAQ poised to hit another new high in price. Very bullish. You want the leadership areas to resume their uptrends, and that's what we saw this week. Utility stocks, kind of interesting. There are some underlying plays within utility that are alternative, mostly alternative energy related, that are supporting this particular area. Communication services, and this is going to have a lot to do with Facebook and its big move this week. That is one of the primary underlying stocks there. And from there, we can go ahead and drill down. Healthcare had a little bit of a difficult week, and it is flat. Definitely underperformed the S&P. So a lot of cross currents as we go into the election. It makes healthcare a very tricky area to really navigate. And industrials faltered, as did financials. Unfortunately, an early week and last week move into these lagging areas was not followed through this week. They were both down. And then, of course, energy. So let's take a look, drill down even further beyond those sectors and take a look at some of the underlying groups and areas that are really helping propel this market higher. So I've gone ahead and populated this candle glance view. I have software, semiconductors, small cap, and some of these ETFs that we are going to be covering today with an eye toward cherry picking some of the best names within these outperforming ETFs. So let's take a look. Gold, again, a big winner this week, GLD, but really we can see for the most part it has continued to charge higher, very much in an overbought position. But I will tell you that uptrend is very much in place. This is GLD, the ETF for gold. And then the next performing in relative strength is HACK, and this is hacked. It is a cyber security ETF. Take a look, in a very nice confirmed uptrend. So I'm going to share with you some of the better candidates within HACK. FIVG, a lot of you may not be familiar with this ETF, but it is one of the top 5G ETFs. And I'll tell you, this week's earnings, we're going to get into some of those numbers, really confirm this is one of the areas that I mentioned to you at the start that is putting out signals not only for near-term upside, but also long-term. This is a really, the play into 5G has really come to life. I was hoping to share with you a little bit more on that as far as the weekly, but let's go back to our sub ETF industry groupings. Another strong area this week, this is XRT, and it is a retail ETF for the S&P 500, but really important is the equal weight among the underlying stocks, mostly equal weight, but also it is very skewed toward online retail. And as you know, that's been a very strong area given a lockdown community continuing to need goods. So we're going to share some of the underlying stocks within XRT as well. Another area that has been picking up, this is IPO is the name of this ETF, and as the ticker symbol indicates, it does traffic in IPOs. It's been an interestingly vibrant area as companies are coming to market. Given the dynamics, the uncertainty into next year, they're utilizing this window to raise capital and come public. So I'll share with you areas there. Semiconductors, super strong, up almost 5% this week. So that's been an area for those of you that have followed the show that we've been highlighting as super strong. So very good to see the strength come back into this nice upward trending. Semiconductor companies are really relevant to keeping us connected and to every aspect of the current economic situation that we're in, and then also the outlook. This is all about earnings, a number of stocks. Hopefully we'll get to that. I want to share with you some of the names there. And then some of these other areas, although this is IGV software, I want to share with you this because this has been a leading area that I've been talking about for months. And it did pull back here, going back this month. However, it is regaining, and throughout that period, that RSI remained constructive. So this is the MACD. So when you see particular stocks or areas kind of consolidate, you will see that MACD trend downward, but it did still stay positive. So software up 3.5% this week, all part of that constructive move back into technology. So we can see one area that I had been touting really kind of fell apart that this week, and this is IBB, biotechnology stocks. And while it may indicate risk off, I will tell you this is one of those underlying areas within healthcare that is getting hit. Trump did come out and announce a move to really constrict and take hold of prices of drugs. He's talking about not allowing increases, but also talking about using international pricing, which really would help, would hurt these biotech stocks the most. So we can see that area is diminishing. Let's take a look because what I did want to do is share with you that preset screen on StockCharts.com that can be really quite helpful. And this is going to be for those of you that are a bit more active in your trading. And what I'm talking about is called market movers, and it will provide you this intel for the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ. I will argue a lot of these are going to be smaller, maybe biotech names, but we can look at the S&P 500. I'm going to share with you where today the big movers percent up, and then what I've done is taken a screenshot of this same S&P 500% up screen from a week and a half ago, and we're going to share with you those names that when they were up a lot, why there were some that did well and some that did not. So here we are. Quite simply, today these are your big movers, either gapping up or just up quite constructively. And from here, of course, that is interesting, but let's take it a bit further. So what I have here is that same percent up view, but I have it for July 24th. So this is taking us to last week. These are the stocks on July 24th that were up, and some of them did gap up either on good news or on earnings. And I will tell you, on the 24th, the S&P 500 was down, and it was down about 0.5%, but the day before it had been down 1.5%. So not a very welcoming environment as far as the backdrop. But what I'm going to do now is go ahead and update for you how these stocks have done subsequent to their big being high percent movers. And then from there, we can drill down and uncover why, so that you can utilize that percent up screen going forward to potentially find candidates and themes. So here we are as going forward beyond that This is 1 week later. So what we can see is there are definite themes as far as stocks that did progress beyond that 1-day move. And from here, we can also see that there are stocks that did not progress as well. So let's take a look. I'll share with you first those names that did not perform beyond. And what we can see here is MHK. This is a stock that provides services and for construction related. And so we can see here MHK was up 5%. There's that 1-day move, but it did not advance further, and a lot of reasons here. One is MHK did move, there was no news, but also take a look at this technical chart. We can see that the stock is finding resistance at these downward trending 21-day simple moving average. Did not even get up to these other simple moving averages, so technically not sound. The RSI, while it did attempt to turn, never got positive, as the RSI also got denied. Let's take a look at another underperformer relative to having that big gap up and relative to other candidates. This is Welltower, WELL. And what you can do if you're not familiar is you can ask for a full quote. This is a specialty REIT, and it's another stock where technically it did break above these shorter term. But take a look, there's not a lot in the way of dynamics occurring here. This MACD very flat, and we can see that the stock really is in a go nowhere environment subsequent to that gap up. Now let's go ahead back and take a look at some of those stocks that did go ahead and outperform beyond those 1-day moves. So one of the names that we can take a quick look at here is NVR. So what we can see right here is that this is that 1-day move. A couple of very dynamic items and characteristics that occurred on that day, and among those is that the company did report earnings. They also came out with Q2 new orders that were up very high. This is NVR is a company that manufactures and distributes RVs. So we can see that this on the news, the stock did break out of this 6-week base and has continued to advance. Take a look, the RSI is up here in positive territory, and that MACD. So certainly a lot more constructive than MHK and WELL. Let's take a look at another stock that did continue to advance beyond that 1-day big percent up. And this, of course, is Advanced Micro AMD. And we can see a very similar phenomenon where this big gap up here did occur on huge volume, pushed the stock out of a 3-month base. The company did come out with a new line of desktop processors for gaming, which caused this 1-day move, but also Intel subsequently came out with news that they're delaying the manufacture of cutting edge chips, which is a benefit for AMD and will drive their sales higher. Also, we did see the RSI up here trending upward and in positive territory, also that MACD. So hopefully that was helpful in helping you when you see these stocks to utilize that screen percent up as far as helping you identify candidates. We're going to take a quick break here. When we get back, lots more to cover. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Mary Ellen McGonagle, author of the MEM Edge Report. In my bi-weekly report, I highlight top growth stocks as they enter buy zones, and I educate subscribers on why that stock is attractive both technically and fundamentally. In addition, you'll be alerted to when it's time to exit that stock based on negative technical action. And this bi-weekly report gives you confidence by providing fundamental insights into why an area of the market is strong and which companies within that strong area have the best growth profiles that'll help propel that stock higher. Subscribers to the MEM Edge Report are benefiting from my expertise in uncovering top performing growth stocks. Subscribe now to take advantage of my special trial offer. And we are back. From here, what we are going to do is go ahead and take a look at those IPOs that are really in confirmed uptrends, have characteristics that support a continuation. First up here is HACK, and this is a cyber security software ETF, and we can see that it's in a very nice uptrend. What you can do from here, there are many ways to do this, but quite simply, I'm going over to Yahoo Finance, and you can take a look at the underlying holdings of a given ETF. So as we drill down, these are some of your bigger weighted stocks that are pushing this particular ETF higher. I've gone ahead and sorted through those, and what I'm going to do now is share some of the stocks that do appear poised to outperform even the broader ETF. This first stock up is Cloudflare, NET. The company provides serverless computer platforms, and it's been very instrumental in keeping employees connected. So what we can see is this NET did hit a new high back here mid-July, and then over the last 2 weeks it's been marking time, and this is very much in line with IGV, that software ETF, as well as tech stocks in general. So we can see since then this week, it's had a nice move up, NET poised to break out of this 2-week base. Take a look. RSI is positive, and then the MACD had this very nice black line up through the red, which indicates a reversal, if you will, or a new uptrend. It's talking about momentum, this MACD. So this consolidation phase could very well be on its way for further upside from here. Another top stock in as far as holdings with that HACK ETF is SAIL, and take a look. Boy, this one has been a real super outperformer. They manage digital identity, so again, big part about as far as helping employees that are remote, keeping secure as far as their digital identities. And so we can see this stock, again, in line with software and with tech, has really consolidated over the last 2 weeks. Not quite ready for prime time yet, but I would look for another leg up on SAIL. NET is another top holder. I'm sorry, we did already do that, but SPLK, let's take a look at that. Splunk is also a big software stock, and we can see this name also has been consolidating after hitting a new high in early July. Take a look. I'd like to see a more advanced uptrend with the black line up through the red, but the RSI has remained constructive, so I would look for a potential another leg up. And one last name here is PANW, a very big telecom equipment provider, and it is big in that security space. Another name that is poised to break out of this base. We can see that the RSI and MACD are positive. Let's take a look at another ETF that I mentioned is showing outperformance, and this one is going to really dovetail into that concept that we are seeing real themes emerge with the release of earnings this week, and this is FIVG, and it's all about 5G. Again, if you have I would go to that Yahoo, take a look at some of those top components, but I'm going to go ahead and drill down for you because one of the biggest components had a really big week this week as far as earnings. This is Qualcomm. Take a look at that gap up. To be fair, Qualcomm also did come out with news, constructive news as far as Huawei. They were able to resume their partnership, and that's big news as well. But they did also have very strong, solid Q3 earnings, and it's all about a ramp up in 5G enabled chips. Take a look at that volume there. So what we are seeing is 5G, which has been certainly in the backdrop, and it has been talked about for several years now. It does appear to finally be coming to pass. I'm going to share with you a couple of other stocks 5G related that have had really explosive numbers. And if you're not familiar, 5G is the bandwidth, a larger bandwidth beyond 4G that's going to allow information to be uh, passed on 100 times faster than 4G. So Qualcomm is a big player in that space. We can see this gap up potentially poised for further upside. Let's take a look at another holding of that FIVG that also had good numbers. I pointed this name out to you last week. This is Ericsson, ERIC. They're a maker of telecom networks and handsets, and they did come out with numbers here that were 67% greater than the prior year. And the company is setting up 5G networks. That's their big area that they are involved in. They've had news this week that they did deliver the first US manufactured commercial 5G base to Verizon. They also provide 5G to US Cellular. That was news that came out this week. And then earlier, they did announce a partnership with Deutsche Telekom all about 5G. So really just emphasizing that that is a space to be aware of. Ciena is just poised now to break out, and they announced a network or a range of 5G solutions earlier this year, and we can see this is indicative of that move into 5G related stocks. One last ETF that we can take a quick look at is XRT, and I talked to you about this being a refined area within consumer discretionary. And take a look at that uptrend there. This is again an online area among retailers. So let's take a look at some of the bigger holdings within this ETF. This first one up is Etsy, and Etsy is an online provider or platform that allows do-it-yourself and more craft-related individuals sell their goods. And we can see this big uptick here, all about their face mask, but the company Etsy appears to be having another leg up, breaking out of this space. Take a look at that MACD, poised now to have that black line up through the red. Very bullish behavior because they are also all about home improvement. Another stock that we can take a look at within this group came out with good news today. This is an online provider of goods for pets, and that's been a big high sales growth area. And we can see Etsy had that gap up today, poised to break out of this longer term 2-month base, RSI positive, MACD just having that black line cross over up through the red. So quite constructive there. One last name that we can take a look at is OSTK, Overstock. This is another online retailer and all about people really improving their home due to the fact that they are spending quite a bit more time. So we can see this very nice uptrend here with this gap up. It is oversold, but it can remain in that area for some time. And one last area I did want to cover are a couple of stocks that are due to report earnings next week. This one is Twilio, TWLO. A lot of times history can help you. This was their first quarter results. Look at that gap up and a continuation rally. So we'll be on the outlook for that. WIX is another stock that actually is due to report next week, and they too have historical precedent that bodes well. This is their their most recent quarter, another gap up and a continuation rally. Wix coming out of this consolidation. So these stocks could be very interesting. Put them on your radar. For those of you who have not, take a look at my MEM Edge report. I've really been able to capitalize and capture these big winners for those that are subscribers, and a lot of names really setting up quite nicely. You can use the link below. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.